Hook Connections. It's actually kind of a nice day today. The sun's shining, and I stopped at the gas station before I came over here, and I said, "Isn't it a beautiful day?" And this lady looked at me. She said, "Yeah, it kind of is for 28 degrees." Today, Gina and I have a great guest as part of Hook Connections. We have Tim Dages, who is a CPA, who actually took over and took care of my accounting and my taxes back in '08 when he found all kinds of mistakes that somebody else that did not have proper certification had done on my tax returns. Tim, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you work, the name of your firm, and what got you into taxes. What got you into being a CPA?
Just kind of evolved into that profession. Did not have my goal set on doing that, but circumstances made it available, and I took advantage of those circumstances. I have been doing this for about 20 years.
That's a long time.
And currently am a partner in Bogdanoff and Dages and Company. We're located on the north side of Indianapolis, corner of Meridian and 465.
Very good, very good. So, because I kind of wanted to be a CPA when I grew up, when I was like in junior high, because I liked numbers and I liked math. But after working on my taxes for the last 2 days, no, it's been horrible. It's been just horrible. But I'm 6 months earlier than last year, so. Just to ask you a couple questions. Why should a consumer use a tax preparer, and specifically, I think, a CPA? And what are the benefits over doing it themselves, using TurboTax, or maybe even going to a tax preparing company that's only open seasonal?
Well, the benefits that you have in working with a CPA or somebody that's in the profession full time is they are going to be there and be available for communication throughout the year. If there's something that comes up on your tax return after it's filed, you can reach out to them, they be available, and you can have that conversation and work through those issues. One of the biggest things that I think is a benefit is the relationship that you begin to develop over a period of time. And if you continue to work with the same person, they become familiar with your situation. They understand the changes in the tax laws as they're going along and how those may impact you personally. You'll have a conversation each year on changes that have occurred in your personal life. And, from that point then, adjustments can be made to incorporate any new benefits that may be available. If somebody is trying to do that on their own, the tax preparation software that you can buy and utilize on your own that way, that does a good job of asking questions, but it really doesn't delve into changes that may be occurring or things that may be coming up down the road that you can adjust for if somebody understands those circumstances.
Right, and I remember when I used to use that, I used to use TurboTax, and sometimes there would be updates after I already had my return that could have affected my return, because updates were, changes were made. What should the consumer look for when they go to interview and hire a tax preparer?
Well, you want to make sure that they have the appropriate credentials, and there's different ways. There's various people that are credentialed that can do tax returns. You have probably the most common is a CPA, but you've got attorneys and you've got what is also called enrolled agents. And enrolled agents are they go through the IRS. There's a process that they go through there with testing and certification. And then they are able to represent you in front of the IRS. But it really comes down to the education, the knowledge, and how they try to keep up on changes that are coming along. You can, each paid preparer now has to have a PTIN number, and that is a preparer tax identification number, and that is a number that they put on the return when they prepare the return and get paid for it, and they have to have that number on there, and that allows the IRS to track them, follow them, and see whether or not they're making mistakes. And the IRS each year reaches out to preparers that have issues that they think should be addressed. They will annually send out a letter before filing season begins and have those kind of discussions. If it's bad enough, they'll do personal visits. You can check, the IRS has a registry of PTIN, people that have PTINs, preparers that have PTINs. You can go out there and check and make sure that your individual that you're going to work with is registered with the IRS to be able to prepare returns for a fee. CPAs, you can check with the Indiana CPA Society and see that they're in good standing with them. Attorneys, you can check with the areas that the boards that watch over attorneys and make sure that they're still up to, they have their qualifications in place and licenses that they need to have.
What's the worst incident where it was kind of like a horror story when you had to end up taking over somebody's account because they had nowhere to go? I remember you just talking about this not long ago when you had to represent someone in court and their CPA wasn't around.
Well, mistakes can happen. Honest mistakes can happen. They're frustrating, but it does happen. We're all under a time crunch when we need to get the returns filed before
because
April
it's like
15th.
No sleep till May, right?
Right. But there are situations where there have been returns that are just grossly wrong that you can get involved in, and you just try to work through the issues and put the taxpayer in the best place that you can. You can reach out and contact the IRS and ask for for them to work with you while you're working through the process. And most of the times, as long as you reach out to them and you're doing your best effort to work with them, they will work with you.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank Logan Street Signs and Banners and Jim Wofford and Wofford Theater for allowing us to do our TV shows here. And we are going to have to take a short break, and we'll be back to ask you some more questions.
Okay.
When Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street Signs and Banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
back to Hook Connections, and we are here today with our guest Tim Dages of Bogdanov and Dages and Company. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. He is a CPA, and he is in the midst of his very busy season with taxes. And going right along in with that, we're going to talk about some issues that some tax people or everybody who is filing taxes this year might have to deal with, and one of those being the Affordable Care Act. So can you talk to us about what that means for people that are filing taxes and what kind of penalties and things that folks are looking at if they don't have their insurance in place?
Okay, the Affordable Care Act, when it was put in place, required all individuals to have health insurance coverage. There are some exemptions that you can fall under that would relieve you from that responsibility. Won't necessarily get into those at this point in time. But the issue that you have is that the presumption is that you do not have health insurance when you're preparing your taxes. So if that's a paid preparer, that their software is going to make that assumption to start with until certain questions are answered. The penalty is, for 2014, is realistically a minor penalty, but it is a baseline per individual in the family, and then they compare that number to a percentage of your adjusted gross income to come up with what the actual penalty is.
So it's per family member, per
It is.
dependent?
It is per family member.
Wow.
Yes. And so the issue that you have, especially if somebody is using at-home preparation software, is they want to make sure that they look and see that if the penalty is being assessed, that they go back and address that. If you don't actually know what you're looking for and you overlook that, then and you could have insurance and may not actually be have the penalty supposed to be applied, but because of the way the software is working, it's going to assess the penalty and then it's going to reduce your refund accordingly by the penalty amount. So, that's just an area that everybody needs to be aware of and take it upon themselves to look both, at their return if they prepare it themselves, or if someone else prepares a return for you, that you make sure that they address that issue, and if you're not supposed to be subject to the penalty, that you are not.
And
Right.
what page is that on? Is there a certain form just for
Yeah,
that?
it is. The penalty shows up on page 2, about 3/4 of the way down the page under other taxes. And what I've seen currently in the clients that I've been dealing with to this point in time, it is a few $100s.
A person?
Not per person,
Oh, and
but in
per-
total, on the returns that I've been looking at. So, if it is one of those things that it's not supposed to be there and it is, it's going to cost you some money. One of the other issues that has just come out is if somebody had purchased insurance through the health market exchanges, they received a notification from the IRS that said, here's the information that you will need to prepare your tax return appropriately. Well, they just came out last week and notified, I believe it was about 200,000 individuals, that the information on those forms that were sent out is incorrect.
Oh,
Lovely.
my.
So,
Imagine.
Yeah.
if you've received the form, the 1098 form from the IRS, then you need to be aware of the fact that it may not be correct. I don't know at this point in time how they're notifying people that they are impacted by that. They have said that they are going to issue corrected notices out to the individuals that are impacted within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
So it's probably wise just for people to kind of hold off on filing their taxes if they were with the Affordable Care Act for health insurance.
That would be a good idea.
And one thing I noticed on my taxes is that I was covered with insurance for part of the year, but for part of the year I wasn't, and so there was check boxes that would allow me to select the months that I was covered so that my penalty would be reduced. So if you only had health insurance for part of the year, that still could work in your favor to reduce your your debt that you would owe.
That is correct. It is looked at on a month-by-month basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another topic that we wanted to talk about today is identity theft and the issues that that can cause with people that are filing taxes. Can you speak about that a little bit?
I can, and unfortunately, I've had that issue with a couple of clients, and usually where it rears its ugly head is when you go to e-file your return. There will be, in my case, there was a notice that I got back that said that somebody else had filed a return using the Social Security, one of the Social Security numbers on the return that I was trying to e-file. And it ended up being a mother and her daughter, and the daughter's Social Security number had been used. Now, what that does is it just kind of holds the process up with the IRS for a while. If the preparer runs into that problem, they'll make the phone call and talk to the IRS and make sure that that's the issue. If it's an individual doing it on their own, they're going to need to reach out to the IRS and talk to them and find out for sure that that's what's going on. It will slow down any refund that you're due. You will end up getting it. They will ask you to file your return by paper. You'll just have to send them a copy, and you'll send it to a special address, and they will take it from there. You will get your refund, but it will take a little bit longer than normal. And then what they do going forward is they issue you a PIN number, which you use then on your following year's returns, and that's how, with the PIN number and the Social Security number, they match the two together to know that you are the appropriate person to be filing that return. They have that information flagged in the system, so if somebody the following year tries to file a return on your Social Security number and doesn't have the PIN number associated with it, that return is not going to go through.
Okay. So making sure that you have all of your appropriate documents sorted out correctly. We don't have a whole lot of time for this next question, but those are the things that can help you as a tax preparer if they have their files organized and have their expenses and their income and different things broken down into different categories.
That is correct. The more organized the information comes in and the better detail that you have makes the process a lot easier on everybody, and usually impacts the cost that's associated with that.
Okay.
Everybody hears about the proverbial shoebox full of receipts.
But people do that, don't they?
Yes, they do.
They do.
And that takes time to sort through, and
I
that
just call them
becomes
and
an
say,
issue.
help me electronically send these to you.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. We want to thank our sponsors, Logan Street Signs and Banners and the Wofford Theater, and we'll be right back.
You know, when Margaret and I decided to sell the old estate here, we had only one choice in signage. Logan Street Signs and Banners. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore, but rather located on 10th Street on the south side of Noblesville. Well, we sold the old beauty, and we were able to buy this wonderful estate. And we had so much money left over, I was able to buy this beautiful 1968 Eldorado Cadillac for Margaret. Only 472,000 miles. Margaret loves it because it's got those big seats and that heavy-duty suspension to support her svelte frame. Next time you're looking for signs or banners, call old Jim at Logan Street Signs and Banners, 773-7200. Conveniently not located on Logan Street anymore.
Everyone knows it's easy to find first-run movies in the big theaters. But where can you go to watch your favorite classic movies on the big screen for the perfect night out? Why rent a flick when you can rent the entire theater? Call today to reserve our 32-seat theater for your next event, or just stop by to see what's showing this weekend. The 14 by 7 foot screen and the high quality digital surround sound system offers all the amenities you would expect from the big theaters, with a laid back atmosphere and comfortable seating of your own home. Wofford Theater at 1744 South 10th Street in Noblesville gives you the classic movies you want with a big theater experience.
Welcome back to Hook Connections. I am Barbara Hook with Hook Connect. I'm your resource to find that honest service provider and contractor. And my co-host is Gina Scott Hawkins with Star Media, and she's our social media expert. And today our guest is Tim Dages, a CPA. And we talked a little bit during intermission, and we can't really name names, but all I can really say is I pay a lot less money to a CPA than I did before when I used outside vending tax preparers. So, and I feel a little bit better protected. So that's just what I'll say about that. But how should someone that works for a company, what is the best preparation that a person that works for a company that does have business expenses not reimbursed by a company, say for instance, some employers will reimburse 40 cents on your miles used in your personal vehicle, but not the whole amount for the year. How do they, because I'm sure that happens a lot where they don't give the full amount back. How does that work?
Well, a company can pick and choose what they reimburse employees for. The best situation for the employee is to have any expense that they incur on behalf of the business, whether it's driving or supplies purchased or whatever, to be reimbursed. That is by far and above the best situation. If you're an employee that's in a situation where you don't get reimbursed, then those expenses will go on a Form 2106, and that form flows through to your Schedule A if you itemize deductions, and then that expense is limited to 2% of your adjusted gross income. So there are limitations all the way through that process where you may or may not benefit from the fact that you are not reimbursed by the company for expending those.
And you may not even be able to take any of those expenses if
you don't itemize deductions to start with, then it would be of no benefit to you at all. But even if you itemize, you're still limited at the 2% of adjusted gross income. So there's a hurdle to get over first before any of that becomes of any benefit.
Well, and I know Tim was a speaker at a Momentum Indy meeting in January, I think, wasn't it? And we were talking about the importance of businesses knowing and making sure their business is registered with the Secretary of State and the Attorney General and the IRS and all this good stuff. And he touched on one of the major things that people need to be aware of when they use their vehicle for business, and that's how to keep track of your mileage. I know after that meeting, I just discussed it at our board meeting today for Momentum Networking, that every one of us downloaded an application that you just plug your phone in and it registers every stop, and it doesn't start registering until you hit 5 miles an hour, and then you get an email at the end of the week with all your miles that you used when you started and stopped. So it's just a no-brainer, and it just goes right to a spreadsheet. So can you go over and tell people what they really need to do when they use their vehicle for business?
Okay, what the IRS requires is a record of your business miles, the reason that the amount of miles you drove, the reason you were driving them, who you were going to see, and that record should be kept on a contemporaneous basis, which means it's done at the time that you are doing the driving. It can be done in any sort of way that you want to put it together. Some people, it's a notebook in the glove compartment, and each time they go on a business trip, they'll write down the starting mileage, the ending mileage, the reason they're going, and then from start to finish, and then you've got your miles for that trip. Some people, if they drive a lot during the day for business, may track their mileage at the start of the day and then at the end of the day, and then try to figure, okay, I had a couple of personal trips in there as well. But whatever you do, you need to be able to come up with the total amount of business miles that you drove. There are, as I said, there are many different ways to do that. There are apps that you can put on your phones, download to your phones. There are units that you can purchase that you can plug into your car that track all that information for you and downloads it into an Excel spreadsheet. There's just a lot of different ways to go about and skin that cat, but bottom line is you need to do it. And if you ever get a letter from the IRS stating, we want to have a conversation about your tax return, and you have mileage deduction on there, the first question they're going to ask, the first piece of information they're going to want is that mileage log. And somewhere in the conversation, they will ask and find a way for you to answer whether or not you have kept that log up as you've gone along, or whether you sat down because of the tax return needing to be done, or because the audit or the conversation with them that you generated that at that point in time. And at their discretion, if you answer that question incorrectly, at their discretion, they can disallow that entire deduction.
Wow.
So it is something that everybody needs to be aware of and take care of as they're going along.
Well, I
through the
feel
year.
pretty good because with this application, and it's got the dates and the times you stopped, and then I have my calendar that shows everybody I meet with and where I'm meeting, and
Exactly.
the receipts match the calendar, then you know you're okay, you
Yes.
know. Gina, did you have any other questions?
Well, all of us hear about stories about people that are being audited. Is there like a percentage of people that will have an audit done in their life? Do you know any statistics about that?
Yeah, the number of audits that are actually performed are really, really pretty small. And it's getting smaller because the IRS budget is being cut and their staffing is being cut. So
Good
that's
news for
one.
us.
That
Not
is
for
one.
me, I have Tim.
That is one thing that is becoming
never
less
have
and
an
less
audit
prevalent.
then.
But believe it or not, the majority of the audits that are generated are just you win the audit lottery with the IRS. It's
They
just a
just pick a
random.
number.
It's just a random draw. The process that your return goes through, once it's received by the IRS, they'll look at it, and if things look to be normal and within certain parameters, it just runs its course. Then occasionally they'll pull them out and say, okay, we're just going to take a deeper look at this one. And then there are times where there are glaring mistakes on a return that will, it's just too much, and they need to pull it out and look further, because if there's one mistake, there's probably more.
Well,
So
Tim,
chances are slim.
it's going to be I know none of us will see you for a couple months because you won't be coming out of the woodwork for a while because of this tax time. But I want to thank you for coming and talking to everybody. We'll get a video. That video will be located on a YouTube channel called Hook Connect. You can find that. It'll be on Hook Connections. Could you real quickly tell everyone your name, contact number, and an email address where people can reach you?
I am Tim Dages. I am a CPA with Bogdanoff, Dages and Company. We are at 500 East 96th, Indianapolis. The phone number is area code 317-571-1777.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week when Danny O'Malley is here, the Indy's trusted servant.